What's up, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Around the Wicket podcast. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the India Ireland bilateral series. We had two matches. The first one cut a bit short, but overall, a fairly eventful series, particularly for India Ireland, I would say. Yeah, what are your guys' initial thoughts on the series? Initially, we obviously had a 12-over game in which India was able to comfortably win versus the second game where it was a tad bit harder. Let's just say so. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, it
I
was
think the
an
general,
entertaining series, I guess, because there were lots of runs. We saw 100, we saw some good opening spells. We saw even Irish players score a lot of runs, small grounds. So obviously entertaining to see sixes, and obviously the DK chance helped. So good series, I would say overall in terms of entertainment value, because who doesn't love seeing lots of runs in T20?
so I would like to reiterate my point from last episode. Who cares? And building on that point, the siege is a bit more important considering it gave Ireland revenue to run for, well, let us say a really long time. Siege was important on that front, but who cares? So the first game was quite an easy one, as everyone has mentioned. Good bowling from Bhuvaneshwar as usual. Good bowling from Chahal. Malik made his debut in that game. Didn't do too well, but that's quite all right. I think Deepak Hooda impressed me with his performances. As to Hardik Pandya, with his captaincy and generally with his skill, he had a good game batting in, well, you can say both games, and a good comeback for Sanju Samson, registering his highest score in T20 cricket of 77. Um, Three ducks for India, golden ducks. That's good to see. You have all of Kohli's scores in the IPL over there. 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 1. Interesting scenario there. Other than that, yeah, good fight from Ireland. I think India could have lost that game, uh, like here and there, but like good comeback.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's good initial thoughts. Let's take a bit of a deeper dive into both the games. Let's start with the first T20. Obviously, rain was a bit annoying, and so we had to shorten the games to 12 overs aside. And I would say Ireland for they put up a fairly respectable total considering the failure of their openers, who are probably I would say the most notable players in their team, right? Sterling and Andrew Balburney, and so who's also the captain. And so I think given where they were at the beginning, getting to 108 in 72 balls was fairly respectable, thanks to obviously their middle order. And by the way, there's just a tangent, but does anybody else think that Tucker, I forgot his first name, Larkin Tucker, yeah, he kind of looks like Joss Butler. Does anybody else agree? When he's batting, like
Okay,
when I look at his
I'll
photo
answer
now,
your
when he looks at his
I'll
photo
answer
now,
your
it doesn't.
second question first.
Okay.
Like about
Tucker.
what did you locked in Tucker? He kind
Lock.
of looks like Butler if Butler was still had still not hit puberty, was going through puberty, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but on that total, I think he was way under par. In a 12-over match, you can't go for anything under 10 runs a ball. 10 runs and over minimum, and they went quite under that. Only 100 odd runs in 12 overs. They should have at least got a 130, 140 to stand a chance against India. But but yeah, I think most of their chances rested on Paul Sterling's shoulders, and he couldn't get off that day.
Yeah, I mean, given their start, it was a bit rocky, and obviously Tector played a brilliant innings to get them to there. What do you think, Om?
I mean, yeah, 108 exists, 113 exists. I just want to talk about few players and the performances. I think when you see Deepak Hooda bat like that, he came in out of position and he played there since Gaikwad had niggle. I think he did a really good job. I know you're batting against a weak team, but hitting the shots that he did, 47 from 29 is a good score any day. Other than that, I think Hardik Pandya, we saw some clean hitting from him as well. I think that's a good sign. He is batting at 4, but for India, he will be batting at 5. So I think we need that. But unfortunately, I think we've seen two mediocre performances from Dinesh Karthik, I know he hasn't gotten the balls, but he hasn't been very relevant in this series. And talking about the first game, Umran Malik on debut, 1 over 10 runs, not a good way to go. But other than that, I think hats off to
14
Bhuvanesh.
runs.
Yes, sorry, 1 over 14 runs.
Hmm.
Actually, it was
Hats off to
18,
Bhuvanesh.
but four of them were buys.
Yeah, hats off to Bhuvanesha. Bowling at an economy of 5.3 in a 12 over game is insane, right? And so to Chahal, an economy of 3.7. So sometimes, when you look at a game, the economy becomes so much more important than the number of wickets that you take because Chahal bowling at 3.7 is much more important than was taking 1 or 2 wickets. I think Umran Malik needs to learn that, and Umran Malik needs to learn how to give away lesser runs than just pace.
Hmm.
So I think that's an art that he needs to learn. One, I don't think he's ready for the Indian team as of yet. Uh, just because he hasn't learned that art, I think it's quite visible that he's not able to contain those runs, and it's just like going. So he has pace, but he needs to learn how to use it well.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I think with regards to what do you guys think of the chase? I mean, I think it was a fairly uneventful chase. As you guys mentioned, Deepak Huda playing well. Ishan Kishan had a nice cameo up top. Sky disappointing, uh, just a golden duck in this game, and Hardik Pandya and Dinesh Karthik sort of rounding it up towards the end. But I think apart from that, that's mostly it for game one. It was a very comfortable victory for India. But on Om's point about Umran Malik, I think we can move swiftly into game two. So in game one, obviously Umran Malik got only a single over. In game two, he bowled 4 overs and he gave what did he give? 42 runs. And he obviously bowled the final over of the game in which there was six runs required of one ball. We'll jump directly there. And obviously he didn't give it. India won the game. However, I think that was a fairly that wasn't a very good ball for a 6-2 and a one ball. That could have very easily been hit over some extra covers for six if the batsman had gotten more on it. So, what are your guys' thoughts on Umran Malik? Very expensive in the second game as well as Om mentioned about the first.
So my thoughts are exactly the same. He needs to learn how to control his line and length. Ashish Nehra is a king at that. And I think he should learn from these people how he can work with express speed. Because even when other people like Brett Lee, Sean Tate, Shoaib Akhtar, they all had that 155 plus ball. To an extent, they learned how to control their economy and everything. Because in the end, in a T20 game, if you're going at 14 runs and over, you're not a T20 bowler, right? You're not troubling anyone with that 155 kilometer pace. Because as far as you see in net bowling and all that, these guys practice for those with those balls, right? So it's not like you're on a different level. Sure, the pace helps. It helps especially against tail-enders, but I think containing runs is very important, and that's what he should work on doing now that he's made his debut for India. I think some other people could have gotten chances instead of Umran Malik, but he's made his debut. He's one for the future, and we'll see how it goes. Apart from that, I think he needs to worry about injuries as well, um, relating to his shoulder, relating to his back. Bowling 150 isn't easy. It never will be. And we'll see soon what his condition is because injuries have brought down some of the greatest bowlers to ever play the game. I think if Dale Steyn played as much as Jimmy Anderson has, Dale Steyn would have had twice the amount of wickets that Anderson has. So sometimes injuries do bring you down, and it's going to be really important for Umran Malik to manage that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Umran Malik, he needs to learn how to control himself. Obviously, it's if Ireland is hitting you for that many runs, you can't expect, I don't know, Pakistan or Australia or England to suddenly fail against him. He needs, yeah, even like Om said, I think maybe a bowler like Arshdeep Singh could have could have been given a chance. He's been performing uh, more consistently and for a longer period of time than Umran. I think he deserved his chance. Um, and I certainly think he would have done better, even though we can't be sure in hindsight. But still, he could have been given a chance. Um, but yeah, Umran Malik, I also don't think he was used particularly well. Um, like, okay, we leave the first game, he only got one over, but in the second game, he was used up top and he was used as a death bowler when his actual role should be as a middle overs enforcer. Uh, so I still think that for him to actually excel to the maximum of his capabilities, he needs to be used correctly. But regardless of like if he bowled in the middle overs or not, I don't think that would have changed his figures too much this series.
Right. I mean, I think it's unfair to single out Umran Malik for this game, particularly considering Harshal and Bhuvi went for more than him. Harshal Patel gave 54 runs in his 4 overs. Everyone got taken to the cleaners by the Ireland batsman, which is not something that I expected to say when I saw the series coming up. I will admit that. But overall, even Ravi Bishnoi was fairly expensive. He got that one wicket through the googly where he got Sterling bowled. But apart from that, none of the bowlers did particularly well. I mean, I guess Hardik and Aksar were the cheapest of the lot, but they only bowled 2 overs apiece. So, what are your guys' thoughts on just the overall India bowling performance? I mean, it's easy to just say it's bad, but what do you think exactly went wrong?
See, small grounds, good pitches, as Rehan said. The ball's not doing as much. I think one thing I will say about Harshal Patel is that if the grounds are small, he's going to go for big runs. I think his tactic doesn't work too well when you have these kind of grounds and he gets taken all over the park. But I think when you bowl at the MCG or the SCG, you'll have better luck. Other than that, I have no complaints against Bhuvaneshwar or anybody like that. Nor do I have against Ravi Vishnu because he's not really going to be in the side. So the rest all is fine. Um, but yeah, small ground thing does come into play a lot.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to worry about with Harshal. We've seen his skill, and like Om said, smaller grounds, so his strategy wouldn't really excel. Even Bhuvaneshwar, he's bowled brilliantly up top, and we know his skills. Um, Even Bishnoi, like he went for a bit early on and later on, but that one ball to Sterling was brilliant. Like you could see from the balls before that, leading up to it, he had like set it up perfectly, and it was really important wicket also because Sterling was on fire in that second game. But I do think Hardik's bowling might be a little bit of a worry because it's a good thing that he's fit and he's able to bowl now. But after the IPL, he's taken like one wicket in like many overs in throughout the 5 games against South Africa and the 2 games here. He hasn't been bowling too well. He's been expensive. He's only taken one wicket in 7 matches. So I think that might be a bit of a worry. But Hardik's a good player. I'm sure he'll come back. And we have many more T20s leading up to Australia for him to gain his bowling form back.
That's true. And I mean, let's not only focus on India's poor bowling. I think or a fair amount of credit is obviously due to the Irish batting as well, the mighty Irish, as a wise man once put it. So I feel like they had three bursts of life, right? Initially with Paul Sterling, the big man himself, going ham towards the beginning. Then you had Balbirnie in the middle, and then at the very end, or not at the very end, but towards the end, Tector and Dockrell had a great partnership going there, as well as at the end in the lead up, the last couple of overs until the very last ball where they weren't able to pull through. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the Irish batting and on India's batting? Obviously, not something to be laughed at, right? Deepak Huda scoring his first T20 international century, which is fair dues.
So I didn't watch the Irish batting, but I can talk about the Indian batting. I think the Deepak Huda Sanju Samson partnership had as clean hitting as you'd ever see, and I think it was it was an absolute masterclass. We saw some insane shots being played, some insane drives, some insane pickup shots. I think it was just a flurry of magic from these two gentlemen batting, and of course both the highest scores. Deepak Huda is only the fourth batsman to score a international century for India. and I think it was a job well done, and they took India to wherever India needed to be. The best part of the innings was just the kind of shots they played. See, this series, I mean, there's not much to talk about because of the difference between these two sides and the irrelevance of it. But just in a general sense, that was one of the great T20 partnerships that you can see. Not in terms of the magnitude of it, but just in terms of the kind of shots played.
Yeah, the Irish batting, obviously, like Tector was really impressive. But also, obviously, we know the skill of Paul Sterling. He's one of the most destructive T20 batters going around, and even in that second match against India, he's going absolutely ham. And even Balbirnie, he's their captain for a reason. He's one of their prestige players, as you say, and he played a pretty solid innings as well. So the Irish batting actually impressed me because I didn't think they would score uh, at high at bro, I can't speak. Um, at oh yeah, I didn't think they would score fast, but they did, and that was a pleasant surprise because it's always good to see uh, a team like Ireland, which people forget is a full cricketing nation, and like people forget that they think they're just like a minor associate, but they're a proper cricketing team, and I think it's good to see them make strides forward.
Yes, yes. I have to agree with you there. And so, okay, now I feel like we're done talking about the two games. Now let's move on to the honorary around the cricket award, around the wicket awards for the India Ireland series. So we'll go Rehan first, then Om, and then we'll come to me. Who do you guys think was the best uh, batsman of the series, or your favorite batsman of the series? We'll say, because who does probably
Um,
the best.
Yeah, it's hard to go past Deepak Hooda, but personally, my favorite batsman was Sanju Samson. Just loved seeing him back in the Indian team, and to see him performing so well was brilliant. As Om said, his high score, his first 50, and it was a very solid knock. Love Sanju Samson.
I was going to say Deepak Hooda. I like Deepak Hooda a lot, and he's the obvious answer, but he's just special to watch when he's batting on song. He's the Lucknow Super Giants, so that's mine.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go with my boy, the Irishman himself, Harry Tector. He played decently in both games, but mainly for his contribution in game one, where he took Ireland from ruin, where they had lost their openers and their captain, and he took them to a respectable total. I wouldn't say a great total, but a respectable total. So I'm going with Harry Tector. Okay, now the bowler, the around the wicket bowler of the bilateral series. Om, what do you think? Let's go with Om first.
So, I think there are many Indian options for one to take and one to choose in this series. But I think a great bowler across the series was Craig Young. I think he did quite a good job getting wickets in groups because that's a really important thing when we talk about cricket, getting wickets in groups. Because if you get one out and then the other follows, I think it creates a huge dent in the entire batting lineup. So for me, it would be Craig Young.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Craig Young too, but since Om took that, uh, I'm not gonna go with Craig Young again. Um, it's hard to say. I'll probably go with Joshua Little. Uh, I really like his bowling. He might not have had the best figures throughout, but I just like the way he bowls. And I remember, like he's got a few wickets, but he even had a couple of referrals that were turned down that were like umpire's call. So I've been very impressed with him, and I've had an eye on him since I first saw him in the T20 World Cup.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like picking bowlers is a bit difficult considering the series was it was a batters series, obviously. But I'm gonna go with an Indian. I'll just go with Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. In the first game, obviously he was fairly economical. He was pretty economical, I would say, and he took a wicket. In the second game, he took a wicket as well. He was expensive, yes, but I mean it was a very high scoring game, 220 runs from the mighty Irishman. and so I don't think you can put the fault at him particularly. Everyone was expensive in that game. So yeah, thank you guys. This was the India Island series. Any last thoughts, Om and Rehan?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Hmm.
Since it's about Ireland, I have to mention this. Got to pay my respects to the retirement of the great Owen Morgan, one of the greatest batsmen to ever play the game, one of the greatest captains to ever play the game, one of the greatest Irishmen to ever play the game. Actually, he's the greatest Irishman to ever play the game, and he's in my view the greatest English white ball player ever. Not just captain, just a player. Obviously, most caps in T20 has most runs in T20 has most caps in ODIs, most runs in ODIs. He's been one of my idols ever since I saw him on the bench for SRH back in 2014 IPL. I just loved his name so much that I started following him, and uh, and a few months later he became the English captain, and he was one of their only few good batsmen in the 2015 World Cup. And after he kicked out all the old people, all the Test batsmen, that side just became brilliant, and uh, I just like his name a lot. Also, he was the KKR captain, and he played as a specialist captain and got us to the finals, which uh, which obviously I'm very grateful for. Um, and one of my most special memories, and like one of the best knocks, and like my favorite knocks that I've seen ever, was his knock against Afghanistan in the 2019 World Cup. I think 147 or 148, highest amount of sixes ever in an ODI, 17 sixes. He was destroying Rashid Khan everywhere, and like I was just smiling throughout that whole innings, and my heart was broken when he got out, just like it's broken now that he's gone out of the international game.
Wow, motivational stuff, Om.
Yeah, so yeah, it's sad and all. And so I don't believe half the things that Rehan has said because he's a very respected leader. I think he's a leader of leader. He is England's greatest white ball captain to ever exist. He did revolutionize the white ball circuit in England. He did destroy England's test team completely. He did win England the solitary World Cup. He is one of the greatest middle order batsmen for England specifically. I think he's left
More
behind
like greatest middle order batsman, full stop.
not even close. Anyway, uh, he's left behind a legacy that's going to be followed in England cricket for many years, and that legacy has been hit, and never stop hitting. That's been embodied in Butler, Bairstow, Stokes, himself, basically everyone except Joe Root, right? So I think he's a great player. He's a great person. He's a great leader, and easily the best Irishman to ever play the game. And I hope he has a good second, what do you say, second journey.
Innings, literally
Yeah, second
cricket.
innings. There we go.
Yeah,
Vivian, what are your thoughts on the great Oin?
yeah. I mean, there's little to be said that Rehan hasn't mentioned in his monologue, but obviously we're paying respects to him here. His great career. I made it sound like he died, but yeah, he's retired. Very sad day, but uh, we should not fear for too long. Speaking of English cricket, tomorrow is the beginning of India versus England, the final test. Obviously, this happened a while ago, but then the final test could not be played, and so we're bringing it full circle. Can India reclaim, or can India maintain the throne that is rightfully theirs, which they should have won back then, but the series is not over yet. Let's hope so. We're gonna be doing coverage of that when that game is done, probably. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the mighty Irish's great batting and bowling, and yeah, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. See you guys in the in the next video.